Assalamualaikum and good afternoon to our beloved lecturer, Madam Sharida binti Badri Shah, and to all my fellow friends. My name is Muhammad Sufi Imran bin Izhar. My metric number is 2020988-139 and I am from the group of RBA 2425A. Today, I would like to present a topic related to Fin 657 subject, Issues and Ethics in Finance. The topic for my presentation was about how COVID-19 has changed the catering industry. I hope that everyone is paying attention. As we all know, the world has been shocked by the COVID-19 virus. According to the World Health Organization, the first COVID-19 outbreak have been identified in Wuhan, China on 31st of December 2019. Then, the World Health Organization has declared and announced the outbreak a public health emergency of international concern on 30th of January 2020 and a pandemic on 11th of March 2020. Many countries across the world had suffered as this virus have spread globally, and there are also many deaths that occurs as a result of COVID-19 virus outbreak infection. As February 6, 2020, a total of 28,276 confirmed cases with 565 deaths globally were documented by WHO. Since there are no standard treatments for COVID-19 viruses, it is important to avoid the infection or further spreading. The most effective preventative measures at that time was to perform a movement control order or a lockdown. This has caused a major economic shock as factories, schools and restaurants and many more sectors were forced to stop their operations. COVID-19 had impacted the economy and the world in a very negative way, especially for the travel industry and catering industry. It is one of the most significant threats that the catering industry has ever faced. It is one of the few events that could ban the mass gatherings that the catering industry has thrived on for decades. With major events are no longer taking place in near future, the catering business must change in order to survive. The catering industry has been fundamentally threatened by the pandemic caused by COVID-19. This is because catering industry relies on events where there are large groups of people in the same place. The pandemic makes such groupings impossible from a business and public health standpoint. In fact, some of the main revenue generators for caterers, such as academic conferences, weddings, were all the originator of the pandemic. As a result, their main revenue generators are gone while bills continue to come in and employees still expect to be paid. Thousands of catering employees have been laid off since the crisis began. As hundreds of millions of people are urged to stay at home to help restrict the spread of COVID-19, the restaurant business have been among the hardest hit and most instantly affected by the pandemic. Unlike economic crisis, which normally result in a gradual reduction in restaurant traffic, the coronavirus outbreak and the efforts taken to prevent it have resulted in a sudden loss of over 100% of their business for many restaurant owners in the United States and around the world. According to the figures published by online restaurant reservation service from Statista.com, restaurants around the world experienced a significant drop in seated diners over the last 2 weeks until the sector came to a halt this weekend during the pandemic. As part of stringent shutdowns measures, numerous governments have forced restaurants to close their business. Here are among the issues that catering entrepreneurs had to face during this crisis. The first issues are catering entrepreneurs had to suffer loss due to low demand during the pandemic. After Malaysia has declared that the COVID-19 virus was in a pandemic stage, there were many preventive measures that the government had implemented to deal with the COVID-19 virus from spreading further. Among the preventive measures that the Malaysian government has implemented is that only important and essential sectors were allowed to operate at that time. Unfortunately, the food industry was only allowed to operate by doing food deliveries at that time, and dine-in was not allowed. With this word, the catering entrepreneur had to cease their operations at that point. And not only that, the demand for catering has also decreased as Malaysia government has also implemented a movement control order as well as total lockdown on all Malaysians. This results in all citizens in Malaysia must always be in their homes for the purpose of personal safety and preventive measures. The second issues are business flexibility to meet current situation. During the pandemic, food industry business had to shut down their operation due to government restrictions and order to stop the spread of the virus. They were only allowed to operate their business by doing delivery service. As for catering business, they don't have that kind of service at that time. This has resulted in low demand for catering due to no upcoming event during the pandemic as citizens need to stay in their homes. Not only that, there was also lots of bills to pay and employees to be paid as well. In fact, catering entrepreneurs had to lay off their employees and had to find a new initiative to survive the crisis and to avoid their business from being closed due to financial problems. The third issues are restrictions on standard operating procedure implemented by the government. After more than a year Malaysia fought against the COVID-19 virus, finally, Malaysia government has loosened the restrictions that have been set towards citizens in Malaysia by implementing the Conditional Movement Control Order, which is also Malaysia's recovery plan from the COVID-19 virus. There are many sectors that have been allowed to operate. However, strict standard operating procedure have been adopted as a safety preventive measure. Demand for catering has slowly begun to increase, and yet catering entrepreneur must always comply with the standard operating procedure set by the government, such as gas-safe distancing, keeping food hygiene, and always sanitize. This is because failure to comply with the rules, catering entrepreneur can be subject to action. Citizens are also very concerned about the level of hygiene and the safety because they are worried about the COVID-19 virus infection. So, compliance with the standard operating procedure is very important to enable this catering entrepreneur to continue to operate after being severely infected by the outbreak of COVID-19 infection. The solutions to this problem is that catering entrepreneur must always comply with the standard operating procedure and also the rules set by the government. The government has insisted that stern action will be taken against anyone who violates the rules. Having formalized process and procedures can improve the consistency of the service provided by the catering entrepreneur. Next is catering entrepreneur cannot rely on the catering business alone. This has been proven where catering entrepreneurs who only rely on the catering business are forced to close their business when the pandemic hits due to financial problems. they need to think of new solutions to ensure their business can survive and continue to grow. And lastly, the catering entrepreneur must provide a delivery service. During the pandemic, people tend to prepare and cook foods at home. Consumers still crave a variety of dishes that are normally found in their favorite restaurant. As people decide to stay at home and reduce social interactions, food deliveries are becoming more popular and are the best option to get the variety of foods that they are craving for. Based on my opinion, food and beverages industry must provide a delivery service. When the COVID-19 pandemic struck, food delivery service were a business opportunity for the food and beverages industry in order to survive at that time. The increasing demand for food delivery has led to a higher pricing in some areas. However, it is also contributes to increasing employment as some businesses have started to recruit new driver and delivery staff. Next is start performing online business. There are many advantages to run an online business as it is accessible worldwide. You can avoid the disposal of excess food waste, cost saving, and improve client service through a greater flexibility. Catering entrepreneur must grab this business opportunity as it was becoming a new trend nowadays, as well as providing competitiveness to their competitor. As a conclusion, caterers need to plan for a world with small events and cleaner operations. Companies also need to understand that ways in which they can find business opportunity in the current climate. Compliance with the standard operating procedure is very important to enable this catering entrepreneur to continue to operate. Furthermore, business opportunities such as performing business online and providing food delivery service shall be provided by catering entrepreneur as it is the new trend of consumer spending nowadays. And that is all from me. Thank you for listening.